All right, welcome back. Engineer Shammah is back. I'll hand over to my co-host, Diana.
Yes, Engineer Shammah, welcome back. So, on my question on the involvement of graduate engineers in the IEK committees, could you please answer that? Because you covered the gender part and the engineers with disabilities, but I didn't hear about the graduate engineers yet. They have their ideas and everything.
In the committee that I chair, the Strategic Planning Committee, we agreed on some of the issues that we needed to pursue for the full implementation of the strategic plan is to form thematic areas, experts in thematic areas. Now, I'm a firm believer that engineering has outgrown the traditional agricultural, civil, mechanical, and electrical, and we need to go out and embrace other aspects like biomedical engineering. I will tell you that I was a director of engineering and facilities in a hospital, and I know what biomedical engineers do. I have been involved with the graduate engineers who are doing stuff, great stuff, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and stuff like that. And I'm very much aware that we need to incorporate all these areas in IEK. Now, when we were developing those thematic areas, we realized that we also need to incorporate space for graduate engineers. And we realized in a committee of 7, we can have like 5 corporate engineers and like 2 graduate engineers, for instance. The reason because a professional engineer may be needed if an area needs an expert to expound or face, for example, media. It's an issue that needs in-depth discussions and stuff like that, so that you realize in that committee, we can have graduate engineers, but also we need senior registered professional engineers who can also take up a position at a professional level. So yes, we explored that one in our committee. We presented to the council and it was accepted. And so I don't think it's an area for us to belabor so much about involvement of Gs in committees. I mean, I think it's only the matter of appointing those thematic areas. I know the new council will be appointing them, and definitely we are likely going to have Gs in those areas. Thank you.
Okay, members, you're welcome to ask questions. Gitonga, you have a question? Charles, Aaron, Cynthia.
Cynthia has a question.
Yes, Cynthia, please go ahead.
Hi, you can hear me?
Yes, I can.
My name is Cynthia Osundra. I'm a graduate civil engineer. And I'm also very passionate about issues of private sector development. So when you talk about joint ventures, engineers having joint ventures with foreigners, I'm very much interested. Now my question is on the Joint Building Council document, on which the one that was released the other day.
Yeah.
From where you sit at, having a wealth of experience discussing with stakeholders and coming up with the building code, looking at the document, I see that IEK is not a member of the JBCC. So that to me right there is the first problem that we have. So how does IEK become a member of JBCC? In your opinion, how will we manage to send our first Trojan horse there so that we can streamline our issues?
This is very easy. Council just needs to make a resolution that will be members of JBCC. That opportunity has been there. it's only council to take it up. I've been involved in JBCC, the review of the document. I've shared the input I gave as individual and other engineers gave, and other bodies that engineers are involved in also gave. I talked to, because JBCC is actually under IEK. I talked to the IEK president, I gave my ideas. I talked to the drafters of the billing, the JBCC billing, and I impressed on them. I was so surprised that QS was arguing on my side, because I was public about it, and he told me, yes, we cannot have this document not having engineers as part of the contract. It is quite offensive when it says engineers shall work under delegated authority of the architect. It cannot work, because then structural engineer he designs a structural aspects of a building, for instance. The mechanical engineer, when he's doing the HVAC, I mean the ventilation and all those, the air changeover and stuff like that, those are not aesthetics, they are critical aspects of a building. An electrical engineer, when they are doing the powering the room and all that, the cabling and all that, those are not things that anyone else can do. It's only an engineer who can do. They understand the codes and the standards that to be used to do that. So that green book is defective. Engineers gave their input, but the drafters did not take it on. Now, I said we have not lost everything with that book, because the building code entrenches mechanical, electrical, civil engineers into the building industry by law. You know, there is a constitution, then there is a statute law, and then there is a regulations. The building code is a regulation under the legal structure in our country. So it's a law that everyone has to comply with. That's what I was saying. That building, the JBCC building, it was released the way it is soon going to become irrelevant if it does not incorporate engineers as part of buildings. Now, what I've been doing, because I've been involved with this kind of projects, although I'm not in the contract, the JBCC book, the green book, I sign a contract with a client with my own deliverables, so that I am not there escorting any other person. That's what I encourage engineers to sign contracts with clients. So yes, we did our best on that book. Council will make a decision whether to be part of JBCC or not, because there's also a sentiment from engineers that say, we don't want to be part of this green book, which is owned by architects. Let us popularize FIDIC, which we are more at home with. And I'm involved in a project right now where the project manager demanded, it's a building project, but the project manager demanded that we use the FIDIC red book. And so the architects, the mechanical, civil engineers, where I am, we are all using red book, and you know, it's where we always feel at home. So those are the dynamics. Now the strategic plan suggests we start developing our own standard contracts and all that. And that is another voice that engineers were making. So all is not lost. One, we have a way to join the JBCC. That door is there and it's open. And two, we have way of developing our own contracts, standard contracts and templates, and asking our members to use them. That's another way. So that we have various ways of handling this issue. But yes, I could get the sentiment when the engineers were saying we have lost, because the JBCC Green Book is widely used, especially in buildings in our jurisdiction.
What has IEK taken to fight that idea whereby engineers should be involved in that document?
I don't think IEK took a position, but members played a role at an individual level.
But isn't it one thing, engineer, because IEK is a welfare society, should be fighting for the rights of engineers. When a building collapses, you will hear quantitative surveyors, architects, and other people coming in and saying it is a fault from an engineer perspective. Now, who is to fight for that, so that engineers are involved in such a critical document?
You're very right. It is engineers to do that. Now, that document, I can tell you, efforts were made to entrench engineers. The engineers were not recognized as is supposed to be in that document. Their work is supposed to be delegated under delegated authority of the architect. But the document itself is defective because when a building collapses, will the architect go and say it collapsed because of architectural design? No. And then in that situation, they want the structural engineer to be blamed. Yet structural engineer is not being recognized as part of the contract that the building that under which the building was being constructed. So it's ridiculous, even themselves, and it is not sustainable long term. And that is the situation we are in. I have said, and I say with conviction, that book, the contract, the way it is defective. It is not sustainable because soon, when the building code is enacted into law, the book will have to be amended, or engineers will now be signing their own contract. And probably that's the way we are going to go. So that there is a contract between engineers and the client, just like there's a contract between the contractor, the QS, and the architect. But the document is not right the way it is.
Engineer,
Efforts have been changed.
I understand.
Not sustainable.
I understand. Now,
Yeah.
you've been in the council, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Now, what is the position of IEK now? Not from an individual point of view. What has IEK done? Have they even gone to petition it? Have they asked the regulator, the engineering regulator, to come in, to chip in?
At the moment, no efforts have been made towards that direction.
That means IEK is failing us in that point. From that point of view, when a building collapses, we should blame directly IEK.
I would not necessarily say blame IEK.
Yes.
IEK is a player among many other players.
All right, but
now the role of IEK, the role of IEK is to take leadership and represent engineers' interests in those situations.
In those situations, have they taken leadership right now about this document? I'm asking this document. I'm being tough on you because Cynthia is asking that, and we know almost a bigger percentage of engineers in Kenya are civil engineers, and they are actually even the professional engineers. Most of them are civil engineers. And building collapse, an engineer's mistake will never be buried. It will remain there for a while. A person will be buried, but an engineering mistake will never buried. Now, we have seen a situation whereby we have lost life and no engineer has been taken into, has taken the blame. We have been saying that there are people, mamambogas, and we have been talking about some other people. Now, this is a document that is really, really critical and it's affecting an engineer's life. A structural engineer, a civil engineer doing the construction, and electrical guys and mechanical guys coming in to do the other duties. When a building will collapse with this defective document, has IEK taken any stand, an IEK council where you sit in right now, taken any stand to make sure that at least we will be heard and try to rectify this document?
Now, I've said we have not taken a position that I can report as a council about that issue.
All right.
But there have been efforts involving engineers towards that direction.
So can we see more efforts after the elections?
Definitely. I can promise to do that, to push the case. I've been involved in that process. I know the dynamics, I know the politics, yes, and I know what we can do. We just need the council taking a position. And if it takes a position about the matter, I can tell you, we'll cover the ground that you desire we cover.
All right.
But I've already made it clear that
it is defective.
We have various options. That should be very clear to our members.
All right. Thank you. Members, any other question? Members? Engineer, as members think of questions, I would like to ask one question. What is your take about, okay, you talk about graduate engineers and other members having a chance on the table, but I would like to ask, what is your take about this new dynamics that is coming? We have been shying away from it, but it's now affecting our young fair genders in the profession. Well, we had a situation whereby somebody reported to Engineer Lucy about sexual harassment at work. Ladies, young girls seeking internship and or even at work. What is your take, and how is the council going to fight this idea? And is there a policy at IEK where people can report such kind of situations
I am not aware of a policy currently, but like I said, one of the things that IEK intends to do in the implementation of the strategic plan is institutional capacity building. And this touches on policies, protocols, and structures. We currently have like the CEO, and the CEO needs capable managers to work under the CEO and reporting to the CEO. Now, I've worked in settings where there is a gender policy, sexual harassment policy, occupational safety policy, HR policy, financial policy, procurement policy, and those policies are important. Even children policy, the way you should treat children. I've worked in settings where you have to follow a policy on that. And so sexual harassment becomes one of the policies that then becomes relevant. And I think now that you have mentioned it, we have to put it in IEK Council, if elected, to make sure there is also sexual harassment policy, including finance policy, HR policy, and all those policies. And yes, men are also harassed.
Yes.
They are put into situations whereby now you really have, you feel harassed sexually and all that. And
Yeah,
so
and
it has to be both ways.
yeah, and I know a situation whereby some ladies have also put men in some very funny situation and blame them. Yeah, it happens in both genders. So I think, what is your stand? What will you do, even if not elected? We know you're fighting, and we know you are able to improve some things in the council. But I would like to know, what is your perspective, even if not elected? How will
No, we need a policy. We
how
need
will
a
you
policy.
push?
We need a policy. We need engineers under welfare. We need engineers to be reporting issues that they are probably uncomfortable to report at their workplace.
Yes.
And then we have a welfare committee following, investigating, and making a follow-up. And that can happen. A mere writing a letter to an employer or a situation where an engineer is being harassed is enough to scare whoever may be doing that to realize other people are watching. And because generally it is not right. When they know they're going to be exposed, definitely they will be scared and stop about it. And I know people have been pushed. I have my own sister who has told me she has missed so many job opportunities because she has rejected advances from potential employers. So I understand that, and how painful it is that you lose an opportunity because you're standing on your own principles or something like that. So everyone needs to be protected, especially the vulnerable and all that. And we need a policy, and a policy, we need a policy to be there, but also we need to be vocal and speak about these issues so that we sensitize the society to avoid them, and especially our members. So when you have a policy, they can replicate it in the workplaces. So yeah, it's an area that we need to pick in the next council, or push the council once elected to have one if we are not in the council. Yeah.
Thank you, engineer. Somebody has to run away and written a very long question here. I will just try to. In fact, the first part of it says, how will you? How is IEK going to cope up with the fast changing engineering landscape? Like we have so many changes in telecom sector and building and others, things like smart cities or something. And then he asked, how will you ensure that all committees remain active throughout the period? We have a situation whereby some committees have been dormant or something, or only met once or twice. So how will you try to make sure that those things are in order?
One, I've already said I believe we have to cope with the fast changing environment. I've talked about BIM, I've talked about machine learning, artificial intelligence. I've talked about carbon sequestration. I've talked about areas, reverse machine learning, stuff that are coming up. And engineers are the center of this. Now, we cannot afford to be left behind. And the committees the committee I chair, the strategic planning committee, when we are proposing the areas for thematic areas, some of them were even on avionics and aeronautical engineering. Those areas that probably have not been traditional in what we do, probably we have clustered them under mechanical and stuff like that. Those areas, we have to be alive to them, petroleum engineering and those things. And we have to accommodate them in IEK, biomedical engineering. We have to accommodate them. Otherwise, we become irrelevant because we are losing a lot. I know biomedical engineers and something they call Association of Biomedical Engineers of Kenya, something like that. We need to bring them under IEK. We need to bring aeronautical engineers and others so that the first changing world, we have to cope. We have to be dynamic and change and adjust accordingly. We have no option about that. And if we do not change, I can tell you, we are going to be irrelevant and society will not regard us as relevant. And you know, if you don't make noise, no one cares whether you exist or whether you live. It's a question of just coming out and speaking forth. So I strongly believe that we have to cope, we have to incorporate those emerging areas, we have to accommodate them for society as IEK to be relevant, and we have no option for our own survival. Now, the other question was on, forgotten the other one.
How are you going to ensure that all committees run effectively throughout the year, throughout the term rather?
Huh? A very good question. When you're elected to the council, you are elected on a manifesto, action points. Council runs through committees. For me, there needs to be a clear terms of reference for every committee, and there also needs to be a regular appraisal for those committees. One of the things that we suggested in the strategic plan is a creation of risk and audit committee. The risk and audit committee should be able to appraise the entire council and the performance of the council. Ask them, what were the goals that you set yourself to achieve? Did you achieve them? And then there are regular reviews of the performance of the council. And that committee needs to be an independent committee. Whether it is, there are some council members, or it's a committee that is outside to the council, whichever approach that is taken, there needs to be a way of looking at, do you have board policies? Do you have board charter? Do you have service charter? And are we delivering on those? And then that committee should be reporting into to the AGM, you know, and arguing when they audited the council, what were their findings? Then members can make their own decisions. I think those checks and balances have to be put in. And of course, we know we have a past of IEK where issues have gone wrong, and sometimes people might have behaved with impunity. If we knew there is an audit in a process of reporting to members, we probably would have become more responsible. And so those are issues that we have envisioned in our conversations in the strategic planning committee. And I hope the issues we can implement and that members will find them attractive to ensure that our council is delivering according to the members' interests. Thank you.
Oh yeah, members' question? Okay, engineer, I had another question. It's just running out of my, I'm missing it. Now, we are having a scenario whereby we know that IEK is a welfare society for members, which is supposed to be fighting for the welfares of members, both in working places and also assist members in becoming, like giving advice to members to becoming financially stable. That's why we even went on and have a circle for members to join. But there's a problem with accountability. We've been asking right now how much was used for the website, the new website, which I know you are a council, and we hope to host the outgoing secretary, treasurer, or rather honorary treasurer, to give us more insights about it. But the problem is the visibility. There's no information coming out of the IEK to inform members at the right time at what particular time. You as a council member in the future, after the election, if elected, how will you improve visibility, and especially visibility in the sense that we are heard in the mashinani, visibility in the sense that somebody from Turkana can become an engineer and even be at the table in Nairobi, the national table at IEK, or even other places. How do we promote engineering to those semi-arid Kenyans? The southern Kenya is well catered for. Everybody's going to Kisumu, going to whatever. But northern Kenya, we don't hear about it. How are you going to do that visibility?
Fantastic. I'm very impressed that you really are passionate about those far-flung areas, because it's not the first time I've heard you raise the issue. Now, we just have to find a way to communicate and communicate and communicate. I believe in this one thing, that you cannot over-communicate. When you engage and engage and engage, you get feedback, you get to hear what is affecting members. And that is one of, to me, that is golden, because then I get the heartbeat of what is affecting members. Now, we just have to create avenues of reaching out to regions. One of the ways we have suggested is about the branches, suggesting branches in Western, North Rift, South Rift, Northeastern, Eastern Coast branch, Nairobi, and Central, and those branches, so that then engineers can be able to come together and become the microcosm of IEK in those areas. My dream and our dream in the council, and those people who we had the conversation, was that these regional economic blocks that governors have been creating, I don't know, Southeastern economic blocks and all that, we can having branches representing us in those areas. Yes, that was the idea. But I talked to engineers in Lodwar. I talked to engineers in those far-flung areas, practicing in Wajir, Garissa. I mean, those hardship areas. And there are issues we need to tackle. IEK needs to be felt there. The oil in Turkana, Lake Turkana. I saw a student who was sponsored by one of the foundation in this country to go to study petroleum engineering in China and something like that. What we need to do is basically map out where our members are. If our members are in Wajir, others are in Lodwar, others are in Lonyangapuo's county, I forgot it.
West Pokot.
We need those places. We need to map out our engineers who are there, and we have to reach them out so that at least we have a contact with them. When an engineer was attacked in Wajir, it was actually an inspector of road. I followed up to that inspector. I got their contact. I called. They confirmed, yes, they were attacked. They were beaten by Chinese and all that. And we discussed it in the council and all that. And then Ken acted. I also knew they were working under GIP. I talked to the senior staff at GIP and all that. And they told me the actions that are being taken. And so we need to get wherever our members are, Lamu, so that we are in touch with them. Basically, that's the work of IEK, and it is basically a welfare issue. And I'm passionate about that. So that then we are able to reach to them. They share with us the issues they are facing, issues that are affecting to them, and we can voice them, even from Nairobi and stuff like that.
So in one sentence, can you just clarify, because people are not joining IEK. We have more than almost 20,000 graduate engineers who are not joining IEK. What are the benefits of joining IEK? In one sentence.
Definitely. Benefits of IEK membership: you should be able to grow as a professional. You should be able to network, get jobs, get opportunities, because you're interacting with professional colleagues. You should be able to, we should come up with ideas that there are training programs for capacity building. You even are passionate to join Mwahandisi Sacco because you know you are going to be advanced credit. I have advocated for insurance, medical health schemes at subsidized rates to members. Those should be initiatives that make engineers want to rush and become societies of members. And it's an area we have to grow definitely, because LSK has overtaken us there. I know ISPAC and KMA for the doctors is way ahead of us there. So it's an area that we have to grow into. There's been that gap that we have to see.
Okay. Getonga, you have a question. Can you say it in one sentence? All right. In the absence of... All right.
I would like to thank Shammah because of the good work he's doing at IEK. But I have two questions. I don't know whether I'm late. I went out of the meeting a bit. One is the issue that we discussed with engineer Abel regarding the marriage between IEK and EBK, and there is a public perception or members' perception that that marriage is not right now. It's not good. And what will he do as a council member to ensure that there is a cordial relationship between IEK and EBK, and on matters that affect members of IEK, which maybe, for example, the subscription fees? How should IEK proceed with such kind of matters? The other question I wanted to ask is regarding accountability. Sometimes members, if you look at Telegram, members feel like we don't get information or we don't get to know what the council is doing, and it's like it's upon questions being asked. That's where Engineer Shammah, Engineer Nathaniel go look for information and come back and report, instead of having maybe periodical update of what is going on at the council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Gitonga. I'm proud of the way you are very committed as an engineer, and the steps you have taken to grow as a professional engineer. Now, there's a historical context of IEK EBK. Sometimes people don't understand that there's a time you were to do an interview at IEK and then you go another one at EBK. That time EBK and IEK were fighting. They were fighting one another. Then it emerged that subsequent leaderships in both organizations realized it was not necessary. Then they decided you don't have to do an interview at IEK and do an interview in EBK. Now, so the law was changed, amended, and then now you can do one interview at IEK and you don't have to do another in EBK and stuff like that. Now, interesting, people just want us to go back to the separate ways where IEK and EBK are separate. Now, the issue is IEK is a society. When you go to AIK, for instance, AIK nominates members to boards. And my friends, I know my friends who have been nominated to boards. And so we are similar doing the same thing, IEK nominating members to EBK, EBK being a government entity. If members want that broken, obviously there is no fight about it. It can be broken, and we amend the law. And you know there's a court case that ruling is supposed to be tomorrow, actually, by Martin Wanderi and others, swing about people being compelled to be members of IEK. Whichever way court rules, I think we'll be forced to abide by it. But this will be the way members, this thing has to go on the way members want it. Whether it is beneficial when we are seconding our members to EBK or not, my part, I think we gain when we have a say in EBK. The question is whether we have gained in the past. And we should not look at it that if we have not gained in the past, and I think we have gained somehow, we should not think that we cannot gain in the future. But like I've said, that's a matter of law. We can amend the law and we separate ourselves and stuff like that. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Now, on issue of communication, I think I've touched that.
Yes.
My desire, the new council, just communicate to members. Communicate to members on issues affecting them. I will tell you that I'm aware that the council that I'm serving in currently, there has been some good stuff that have happened. And Whether they have been communicated, that is a question. I think we would have done better in communication at times. That's an area that we must improve, because I can already tell members will not forgive us if we do not improve in communication as a council. Thank you.
All right, engineer, let me give you a minute to breathe a bit, and then we come back for more questions. I see many questions here. I've written them down. I want to ask you. Let's take 1 minute.